Today I'm going to show you the easiest calisthenics skills to learn. Now obviously this is a little bit subjective, but what I'm doing is I'm going to show you the ones that need the least amount of strength, the least amount of flexibility, and the least amount of skill. So they should be the quickest to learn. Now when we look at the majority of calisthenics skills, or most calisthenics goals that people have, like muscle ups, planches, front levers, back levers, handstands, they all have a very long progression line. So you might start off with dips and chins, then move to false grip variations, working that transition and lots of exercises with eccentrics and partial range to eventually unlock the muscle up. The person who's already very, very strong can bypass a lot of those movements and they might get muscle up really quickly. But for the majority of people, it's going to take at least 6 months, 12 months to achieve a muscle up. The same with a freestanding handstand. Initially, we need to work on that mobility, understand the balance, the there of doing it, build a balance window both with the overbalance and the underbalance, and eventually we'll kick up in the middle of the room. But again, for most people, that's going to take around 12 months to achieve a decent, consistent hold. We can do the same for the planches, press handstands, the levers. They've all got a long progression line. But let's look at the skills that we can learn today. And if you just understand a few key principles, we should be able to unlock them very, very quickly. So number one, let's look at the inverted hold or the candlestick. Now to make this one as easy as possible, we either need to do it on rings or 2 parallel bars. So for the candlestick position, we're just putting ourselves inverted directly in line. So like this. Now the reason that's easy is because my body, my hips and my feet are directly above my hands and my shoulders. So I'm in a straight line. If I positioned myself too far in this direction, it's going to get very heavy. That's taking you towards a back lever. And if I position myself this way, it's going to make it very heavy. It's taking you towards a front lever. So in this position, if I do this, it's really hard. If I go the opposite direction, it gets really hard again. But that sweet spot in the middle where everything's stacked is very, very easy to hold. But it's a great position to start to get conditioned with being upside down, and it builds confidence on both sides. So learning how to enter and exit this position, so I can walk in this way, which is probably the easiest way for most people. Get the hips up nice and high in the air, get into a tuck position. Again, this is very easy because I'm stacked. If I go this way, it's going to get hard. If I go this way, it's going to get hard. But if I stay, get rid of the swing. If I stay in this inverted position, I can open and close here, and it's relatively easy. Doesn't need much strength, doesn't need much conditioning. I can learn to exit this way, I can learn to enter this way, I can learn to exit this way and come back out. And 99% of people are going to be able to learn that very, very quickly with just a little bit of guidance on how to enter and exit, depending on your setup. So you could use rings. Now we can do that same setup where we've got everything stacked using 2 parallel bars. The downside of using bars like this is the head gets in the way. So I can step into that position, but see I can't get into the position properly because I'm not got enough clearance to get the head underneath. But higher bars will definitely work, but it is much easier on the rings. Now a common mistake is thinking that using a bar like this is going to be just as easy as the rings. And it is if you can stay in a tuck and you can get into the position initially. So if I can go upside down in this position and stay there, it's relatively easy. But as soon as I try and extend in that position, I'm going to take my hips and my legs on the other side of the bar. It's going to get very heavy quickly, and that's much more of an advanced movement. So I recommend if you're starting out, just do that candlestick position, initially in a tuck, build the confidence on either side, and then make the body nice and straight. Number 2, the frog crow position. Now the crow or the frog position is very, very easy to learn, and the cool thing is we can make it super, super easy by keeping our toes very lightly on the floor. Now the difference between the crow and the frog is basically the frog is with the knees on the outside, so like this position. So my knees are frogged over my elbows, and the crow position is seen as having the knees more on top of the elbows, like that. Now, as long as we keep the body one segment, a very tight ball, we move very slowly. This is going to be super easy for everyone. We're just going to externally rotate the hands. We turn the fingers out more to the outside. That brings the elbows in. So we're in this position, and I'm just going to place my knees, like I say, either on top or on the outside, whichever feels comfortable. And then I'm just going to take the head and shoulders forwards and make my toes a bit lighter in that position and just get comfortable here. So this could be your crow or frog position. Ideally, you'd lift one foot up and then the other foot, and they'll be able to come back out with control. Same thing if we're froggy, exactly the same. It's just a bit more squished. Use toe assist if you need to. So again, we can just build confidence, control, and time in the position, but everyone will be able to get into that position. You just might need toe assist to start with. But the cool thing with that arm balance is that carries over to all your other harder balances like handstands, forearm stands, and other moves like that. Now, the cool thing about the next two skills is they look very challenging, but they're actually really easy. We just need to understand a couple of key principles and you'll learn them in no time. Now, the first one is the shoulder stand position. Now, the shoulder stand is very, very similar to the crow. And in some ways, when you get the technique right, it's actually easier. Now, the reason it's easier is because you're taking your head and shoulders below your hands. So we still externally rotate the hands, arms into the side, head and shoulders go below, and then I just step into that position. Now it works because I'm keeping the body as one piece, staying in that ball, head and shoulders come down low enough to counterbalance the hips and the legs. As long as I stay in this position, it's very, very safe. However, when you're learning it, you probably will need someone just to place their hand here to build that confidence and understanding of the position. Because if you get it wrong and put the hips on top of the shoulders, you could go over. But we need very little flexibility and you need very little strength to achieve the position. You just need to get into that sweet spot and understand the position. So let's look at it from this direction. So here, I'm going to externally rotate the hands, bring the arms into my torso, so there's good connection there. Head and shoulders come down, and then I can step into the position. I can keep a very light toe assist if I need to on the floor. It can be done on these steps. It can be done on P-bars like this. It'll be a little bit easier for you to see what's happening because you can see through these. So arms into the side again. Head and shoulders come down just enough to counterbalance and I can step into the position. If I'm here, it won't work. I need to have the head and shoulders down enough to counterbalance and then I can float into the position and come back out with lots of control. It can also be done on the edge of something. So I could do it on this one step, hands now like this, arms into the side, head and shoulders down, foot up, counterbalance nice and easy, step back out again. So number 3, shoulder stand. And then number 4, which again is seen by a lot of people as a challenging exercise and it looks really advanced but it's easy, is an elbow lever. Now there's a couple of variations of the elbow lever. You just need to work out which is the best one that suits your body type and current level. But the easiest variation for most people is going to be raising the hands up. You might just raise the hands up on, say, a yoga block, or you could use the IKEA step again. But let's first show the yoga block. So I'm going to place my hands on either side like this. Now it's going to bring my arms very close together. And when I bend the arms, look, it makes a very nice shelf for my hips to sit on. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to bend the arms, bring the elbows in towards my hips. And then I'm just going to take my head forwards. Look, I can lift my feet off the floor. So that's a very tucked elbow lever position. It's again similar to the shoulder stand. It's again similar to the crow or the frog. We need to counterbalance the weight on both sides, but because it's very low to the floor and our bodies stand as one piece, it's very, very easy to do. I can do it on the floor without the block, so I'm just going to bring the fingers out to the outside again. So external rotation, elbows come in towards the hips, and look, I can then open out into that position. Or I can stay in a froggy position. Now I do need to move the knees around the outside to create space, but you can tell because I'm holding a conversation, once you hit that sweet spot, it's relatively easy. If you want to open the body all the way out, you can start with having toes on the floor like this, or you can move this stuff out of the way, turn this around, and even have your head on the floor. So this is a little bit more like peacock position. But that's getting to harder variations. Initially, it's just learning to balance on your elbows. And that rounded tuck position is going to be the most comfortable to get into. And then number 5, the support position. Now the support position is very, very important for our calisthenic skills as it's a foundation position for things like L-sits, ring support. It's the top of the dip, top of the muscle up transition. But as long as you keep your arms pushed into your side, it's relatively easy. Now you will find a lot of the parallel bars at playgrounds and parks and things are like this. That makes the support position much, much harder. So to start with, you want to try and find bars that you can move around like this. You can pull into your sides. You can use the corner of your kitchen top, or you could use 2 boxes, but just make sure that you have contact between your upper arm and your torso. And then we're just going to keep everything tight. Slowly lift the knees a little bit till the toes come off and just hold that position. Now we don't want to bring the legs up too high into that L-sit position because that's going to demand flexibility and strength. Remember, we're keeping it as simple and as easy as possible. So just relax the lower body underneath the strong upper body position and you have your support hold. Now I'm a big believer in having some dreams, some shining lights, like the advanced skills, like one arm handstand, muscle up planche. But it's so important to first start with these easier goals and then know the little targets and progressions along the way, because to get to things like this is normally going to take 1 to 5 years and need a combination of flexibility, skill, strength, and everything in between. So set the big goals, but hit the smaller ones first along the way. If you're after programs or help with your training, check out my website and my app. Links all down in the description, or visit www.paultwyman.com.au, and I'll speak to you in the next one.